everyone. We'll get started. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Leila Bartholomew. I have been a unit commissioner for 20 years or more. I can't even remember anymore, but in scouting since my oldest was 9 years old. And I have 7 children, 5 boys, 2 girls. One of my girls happens to be a Silver Girl Scout, and 3 of my boys, is it 3? I can't even remember anymore. 3 of my boys have Eagles, and 2 of them have black belts. So they chose their life path. I wasn't a pusher. And I have 17 grandkids, and I just had one of my grandkids get his Eagle. He stayed in the program, but he's now 15, 16 years old, and he's moving on into the high school life. I have 1 great grandchild, and I've been married, this year I'll be married 50 years, and wow. Anyway, so how did I get into scouting? I think this is the most important thing. One Sunday morning, I was sitting there and I was bemoaning the fact that my husband had been a scoutmaster and he was a varsity scout. Anyway, and I had been doing all this and was never home, and never. And I looked over to him one Sunday morning and I said, either you get out or I have to get in. And it wasn't an hour later that I got a phone call. And that's what became a den leader. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And a commissioner, I would sit in, I remember as a commissioner, I would sit in PAC meetings, and one of the leaders turned over to me and she said, just exactly what is a commissioner? And she said, is it like being an emeritus scouter or something like that? That was the funniest thing that was ever said to me, because I'd been there for so long that, that was it. So the course objectives, we're going to describe the commissioner's core concepts, define and identify the role and types of commissioners, state the key skills needed to be a good commissioner, and apply this knowledge and understanding for exceptional unit service. The position of a commissioner is one of the oldest in scouting, and we're going to reinforce what this position does. History of being a commissioner. In the early days of the BSA, units were organized by resourceful individuals who sometimes had to acquire materials from England and other places to make sure scouting happens. These first organizers were commissioners. In 1916, you see how this is like 1916, that's a long time ago. Anyway, some of these commissioners were asked to become scout executives. A few accepted the position in the field, and the field executive position was born. The shift eventually led to the separation of the roles of the executive and the commissioner, and this began a partnership between volunteers and professionals. So if you can see the relationship here of the executives to the commissioners, and I know that today we have a very close relationship, and he mentioned Terry. And Terry is a key and vital part of he's our district administrator, executive. And that's, what I can say. But so as the years progressed, things changed. In the 40s, the need for units serving commissioners was apparent. And the workload on the district commissioners and the deputy district commissioners was too heavy. And, this is one of those things as it grows and you find out what a great resource commissioners could be. That's how they started to evolve. And the position of neighborhood commissioners was created to fill this gap. And then in the 60s, the terminology changed, and as did the structure. Neighborhood commissioners were not known as unit commissioners and only served a maximum of 3 units. All deputy positions were changed to assistant. So we've got ADCs and so we, do all of you know the acronyms, ADC, DC, all those things? Anyway, so we're going to be using those because it's kind of redundant to say assistant district commissioner. Anyway, all right. So let me get this to the next one. As commissioners, this is our mission. As commissioners, we share the BSA mission to prepare youth to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetime by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Law. In our opening, Alan, on his presentation, that was the very top thing. So we share as commissioners the BSA mission. That's our main thing that we do. And we have to keep that in mind to prepare youth to make ethical and moral choices. You know, this is so important that we do these things. The next thing, our vision. Every member of the BSA has a great scouting experience. Isn't that what we're all here for, is to ensure that they have a great scouting experience? You can nod and say, yeah, Okay, our objectives. Supporting unit growth and retention. In the Journey to Excellence is a program that helps the unit growth and retention. The Journey to Excellence measures performance characteristics that unlock the door to a successful unit. We should analyze the unit's programs and identify the areas where the help is needed to move the unit to a higher level of JTE success. Contacting units. Now, each one of these objectives has a whole class all by itself. So that's why we're just going over these briefly. And when we contact units, then we capture this information in commissioner tools, their strengths, their needs, and a unit service plan that enables continuing improvement. Linking unit needs. This is one of the very most important things that we do as a committee. We link the district operating committee and other resources together with our units. The concept of linkage is critical to our execution mission. The unit commissioner is a link to the subject matter experts and resource who reside at the district committee level. So we need to know what the resources are at that district level. We need to know when they say expert subject matter, we need to know that what are the people on the district committee and what are they like? Have we ever done that? Have we ever introduced ourselves enough to know who does what on the district? Or we can just at a district meeting say, you know, is there anybody that has this piece of material, or who knows how to do this? Do you have those kind of resources? Those are some of the things that we can do as a unit commissioner. We can find help for our units. We need to support their charter renewals. This is kind of a position of nagging. I must say, you know, periodically you start in September. How are you doing? How are you going? October, you're saying, have you got everybody lined up? Is everybody taking their youth protection? And on and on and on. And but effective renewing supports an ongoing unit to stay intact. So they know early on what to plan for the next year, because they'll know who's going to re-up, you want to say. This year, our units was an interesting one, because we had to continue to say, okay, is this boy going to continue? Is this parent going to continue on the committee? So it took a lot of communication in order to get this done. And we support our unit leaders by collecting and distributing information, enabling program training, and providing networking opportunities. We encourage our youth leaders to attend roundtables and explaining what roundtable actually is. And we set the example by going to roundtable. So our goals as a commissioner: enable an increased number of units, enable the retention rate of units, enable implementation of a unit service plan through a collaborative detailed assessment, and increase the number of significant units. Now, those of you that are unit commissioners, how many of you have sat down with your leaders and talked about the unit plan, unit service plan? Anybody sit down? Okay, so Lee and Judy have sat down with themselves and made a unit plan, right? I'm just kidding. Anyway, it's okay. Anyway, those are just things that we need to do. This is a one type, or well, I should say, this is our organization chart. And we pretty much follow this in our council. And if you can see the green unit commissioners, that's where the heavy, we're the heavies. The unit commissioners are the ones that make it happen here. The others are fluff, and I shouldn't say that. I didn't say that, but we know that as a unit commissioner, we have those above us that will help us and support us. And but you can see how important we are as a unit commissioner. Hoping that all of your districts follow those really closely. We have three types of commissioners. We have unit commissioners, you saw the chart, and roundtable commissioners. Unit commissioners are ones that stay closely with the units. Roundtable commissioners are those that help with our roundtable programming. And then we have administrative commissioners, and those are the district commissioners, council commissioners, and they're called administrative commissioners. There's ADCs, and they're part of the district commissioner works directly with the district chair, and the district professional is a part of the district key three. So you've got the key three. All levels are repeated, whether they be at the council level or the district level or the unit level. Coach. This is an interesting concept. The word coach, what have you heard what the difference between a teacher and a coach is? Does anybody know? Okay, so a teacher helps those around them to acquire knowledge, and a coach helps the people refine things that they already know. And so if you're, as a unit commissioner, you need to keep yourself into a position of being a coach. It's very rarely that you'll have to teach something to anybody. You just need to have them remember the things that they already know. Let me see if this is in here or not. Nope. Clarify. I don't know if you can read that on there. The best approach to help establish relationship with the leaders is to use this coaching mindset. Clarify expectations, clarify needs, establish a level of trust. It takes time to establish this level of trust, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Observe. So the second one on coach is observe. Through evaluation, inspections, conversations, and through direct observation. I mean, you can't observe if you're not there. So what does that tell you? You have to be there. You ask active listening, being present, and questions, status, issues, impacts, all of those things that come up, you ask meaningful type questions. And then C, collaborate. We engaged in two-way conversation. You're not telling all the time. Most of the time you're listening. And you ask more questions, giving and receiving feedback, both supportive and constructive. And each one, like I said, each one of these items that we talk about here has its own course just by itself. And then H for help. We're supportive, authentic. Okay, we're authentic. That's the one we have to remember. Consistent and confidential. We provide resources if we can, and then we always follow up on whatever we've committed that we need to do. Okay, so here's some of the things. As a commissioner, and I'm guilty of that right now because I happen to be on the troop committee of that I'm a unit commissioner of, and so I have to be careful. And I know you all say, oh, but we've got to serve, you know, we've got to do whatever they need, especially in this time of over I mean, trying to rebuild the program itself. And because of the many programs and activities of scouting, unit commissioners might find themselves promoting projects, carrying messages, acting as judges, running Friends of Scouting. Whoa, there, and a whole other bunch of things. While all of these activities are unquestionably important, they are not the primary responsibility of unit commissioners. That's really tough. What do you think about that? Jim, tell us.
You want to repeat the question?
Okay, so it wasn't really a question. We tend as unit commissioners to want to get totally into places and things in the units that we serve that really aren't, that we're really not supposed to do. I mean, they're supposed to do them. What has been your experience with this?
I haven't actually been a unit commissioner. I've thought about it, but I think
Okay.
the thing you have to be careful about is they have their structure where they have their committee chair, they have their, and I'm thinking of a scout trip here because that's where I think you have your scoutmasters, assistant scoutmasters, and they have their youth leaders. And we have to set back, not trying to take over. And that could be the easy part, saying, well, you're doing it all wrong. Well, there's no one right way to do anything. And there's more than one way to do a lot of things. And if it's working for them, you know, then we're doing okay. And as long as they're within the parameters of scouting, we're okay. And so we're there more as a help and as a guide and a resource, so they can bounce their frustrations off of us. And like with any good, I'm not going to use the analogy of therapy. A therapist never tells you how to do something. They have you talk. And as you talk it out, they say, well, how would you correct it? And they'll come up with the solutions. And that's probably the best thing we do as a commissioner, is help them discover the solutions to their own challenges that they're facing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And it's so important to remember those things. Being a counselor is certainly one of the roles that we play. And how to avoid that trap, just feel free to say no. I mean, if you're not comfortable or do whatever you're doing, just say no. And you have to do that once in a while. No, I can't, you know, you're going to have to solve that. And when I was first a unit commissioner, I had just taken basic training, and it said not to be assigned to your own unit. So I was adamant that they put me with 3 units that I wasn't associated with at all. And wow, that helped. I didn't have to do anything. They did ask me to do sometimes. They asked me to come in and judge a whatever contest or do some things, but most of the time they did things on their own. I showed up on time. I stayed. and it worked out really well. This time I felt a little more panicked because of changing the main authority of our associations and going straight BSA. I felt I needed to support this one particular unit that was quite strong. I mean, I know that's kind of the chicken way out of it, but I felt like I needed to be a unit commissioner within. And then I also then was given the other opportunity to be another unit commissioner to another unit. So right now I only have two, but the same thing goes. So we, even though we're part of that committee, we need to be really careful. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here because I know a lot of you do that, that have dual roles right now because we're kind of struggling. I mean, I shouldn't say struggling. Who was it? I can't remember his name. He just said, we're typical. We're not struggling. We're just typical. So a lot of times we like to focus in on the units that are really healthy and active, and wow, they're doing great. And you show up and you just there's nothing wrong. In fact, I went to one of my units, and here were, I would say half the kids in partial uniform and 3 or 4 of the kids in full uniform. I was so excited I could just jumped. They had a great program. It went smoothly and everything seemed to be well. And those are the kind that you like, but you have to avoid and focus on the units that really need your help. And sometimes they won't reach out to you. So you have to get this engagement with them so you know what's really going on. All right. Priority 1 is to know your units. We need to know the unit adults. We need to have communicated with them. I inadvertently found out who our committee chair was for our PAC that I was supposed to be over, which I didn't know I was supposed to do. But anyway, I found out, and I made the point of saying, okay, get me on your email list so that I can actually attend your meetings and stuff, so I know what's going on, because I had no clue. I mean, that's partly my fault, but we need to, as we go, we need to be a friend of the unit. We need to visit often enough to be up to date with what's going on with them. When attending the unit meetings, there could be committee meetings, PAC meetings, troop meetings. Use the opportunity to, and this is really hard for me, keep my mouth shut. And well, it didn't say shut, it said quiet, okay, and my ears open. And be sure to go in uniform. I mean, I can't emphasize how much this is, because they'll know who you are if you go in your uniform. Watch and listen. Don't disrupt the program. So basically, you sit back and enjoy, but you observe and stay for the entire meeting, but do not participate unless they ask for assistance. You're a guest and observer. Make note of the attendance. Now, I mean, we've all got our little phones, and this is what I went at the other one. I just clicked my notes and I took attendance, adults, youth, children, the families. This happened to be a PAC meeting. And so because when I got back home, then I could do it, because you don't want to be looking like you've got your clipboard and you're checking things off as you're there. Do things move smoothly in their planning, in their adult leadership? Are they actively involved? Do they seem to enjoy the meeting? Are the kids having fun? And once the units begin to view you as a friend, they will begin to open up to you. And this is not going to happen in 1 or 2 visits. This is going to happen in consistent visits. It may take a year, it may take a year and a half, 2, but there'll be a time when you start getting the phone calls then, like Jim said, someone to bounce their feelings off of. Sometimes they're not having fun. I mean, I had a parent, or not a parent, one of the committee chair called me and she said, oh, did you know that this kid's using a kit from the craft store to make his car? And I said, okay. I said, what's the point of this? This is the point is to support the family and the goals. And so I said, this is no biggie. Just let him do what he's going to do. It doesn't mean it's going to go faster or anything like that. So anyway, sometimes they'll finally open up to you. And that was the greatest call I ever got, even though it was a complaining call. I said, oh, wow, they're at least wanting to call me and ask me. And how often should you visit? Okay, so how often do you think you should visit?
Probably once
Judy.
a month at least.
Oh, once a month at least. At least once a month. And sometimes your schedule won't allow, but try to work it out so that you can visit on a regular basis. Phone calls, emails, texts, all of those things work these days. Especially coming out of COVID like we are. So I hope we're out, not just coming out. And so you have to visit enough so that they know who you are. So the kids know who you are, and the parents know who you are, and everybody knows that you're that person that is, there to be a friend of their group. Unit commissioners should never feel like all is well. Because you never know from one time to another whether things are going to straighten out. I had a unit that looked like it had the perfect situation. Everything was great. So I did an assessment with the committee chair, and there was an item that this committee chair wasn't doing. And she said, oh, I think I'll start doing that. And, and it was just kind of like a light bulb on, maybe that'll be a good thing, the yearly plan. I mean, that was really weird. But so you never know, all is well. Maybe not all isn't well. And one thing you also need to beware of the hazard of placing the needs of the district above the unit. Many units do not understand the role of the district, and you will need to develop a relationship with them first before starting too much of what the district does to support them. So you don't want to kind of bully them and say, we do all this stuff for you. We've got all this structure in place for you, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. They need to know that you're their trusted person. Okay.
Sheila,
Unit, yes.
something I've found helpful for me personally is to look to see what I can compliment them on. There's usually something going well. For example, last month at the Pinewood Derby, I told several people, particularly the leaders, I had never been to a Pinewood Derby where all of the young men, because it was only young men that were participating, were so polite and helpful to each other. There was no disturbance. There were, it just was really good. There's usually, even in a unit that's struggling, there's something they're doing well, and you need to let them know that you recognize that.
That is so good. I mean, we all love compliments. I mean, the things we're not there just to be critics. We're there to notice what's good about them as well, and to notice their strengths. And those kind of things will always help build up the unit. Okay, so we've kind of talked a little bit about the unit contact. It's called a meaningful exchange between a commissioner and one or more members of the unit. So we've talked a little bit about this. We've got all kinds of things. You've got all these little icons here that I don't know what half of them are. But anyway, so you've got, emails, Twitters, and whatever, just plain talking to them, snail mail. You could actually even do that. You could send them a message, and don't feel like just because you've made a contact, you're successful as a commissioner. When your unit is moving toward the completion of their journey to excellence criteria, you have a good unit program, and then you are successful as a commissioner. When you need a quick contact, texting or email email's not so this quick. You could call or text. Usually those are the fastest these days. Any other ways you've communicated over the years? Anybody?
One of the things when you were talking about that was looking at the symbols here. And we have a great opportunity once the committee starts to get to know you and stuff like that is to become friends with them in Facebook and Instagram. If they friend you, you begin to learn a little bit more about them and their families and their interests and stuff like that. And it also gives us an opportunity to share the Facebook page for the district or the council with information that they will be interested in. So there's a benefit to that.
That's true. I know I don't do anything but Facebook, but I noticed that when you have friends that are scouters, you get directed many times to those Facebook pages that are used. You get to know information that way. So that's all really good. Okay, so after your visit, and with my brain, I have to go home right and do it, or you can do it on your phone. You go to Commissioner Tools, and it's at my.scouting.org. Is there anybody that doesn't know how to do this? There's a whole class on it, on how to do myscouting.org, my.scouting.org. Or there's the mobile app, and I'm going to start looking at that mobile app so that I can have it right closer to me. I haven't used that yet, so I'm going to do that. Commissioner Tools, and they've had this for several years. It used to be something else, but Commissioner Tool enables the commissioners to develop a customized unit service plan to address an identified needs. Commissioner Tool enables commissioners to help assess the strengths and the needs and develop a customized service plan. Using Commissioner Tools, a commissioner becomes more familiar with the Journey to Excellence Award and how each unit is progressing. The Commissioner Tools is the way that we tell the district what's happening with our units. Otherwise, they think nothing's happening. And then the district in turn can then make that report to the council, who makes the report to the national. So it's a way of reporting so that everybody knows how things are going, and it's a pretty good use for what's happening in their units. So I'm going to kind of skip through a little bit of these. We're going to need to prioritize the needs, use a detailed and simple assessment, highlight the urgent needs, and build a unit service plan. Be considerate of time. Now, at the end of this course, I'm going to put in chat some of the links to these resources or copies of them so that you can find them, because sometimes they're not easily done. A detailed assessment should be done at least twice a year. And then we're going to go talk a little bit about some things that are problems, and I want you all to join in and give me your ideas. How about these are problems that we encounter. A unit not meeting. What is you as a commissioner could do with a unit not meeting? I mean, let's give these like a 30-second answer if you can think of one. Okay.
My first question would be to them is, why are they not meeting? And find out the reason what's happening, because you can't address the issue until you know the why.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, you can't get to the root of it. How about a unit with no leader? What would you do with that? How could you address that?
First, it's got to be what the key three is your first step there. Obviously, if they're missing a unit leader, then that's part of the key, possibly part of the key three that's missing. And so that's where the COR and the committee chair need to step up and let's help them find people.
Okay.
that may be helpful, helpful to them. I think that's
Oh.
been the dilemma a little bit here as we've changed a little bit is the depth of that knowledge isn't there anymore of good people that have been involved.
That's so true. I mean, there used to be, we can't, I mean, we got to get our mindset out of used to be and go with
Right.
what is right now. And what if this new unit leader doesn't have any training?
You direct them towards that training.
Right. You can direct them, or you can actually sit down with them and hold their hand and help them through if you need to. And that's kind of one of your roles. I mean, a lot of times they just need to know somebody cares and that somebody cares about this. Total online training, in my estimation, is okay, but we've got to have somebody there to bounce your questions off so that they can know what experiences you had, what to expect. Okay, so this is a good one. I encountered this last year. We were in the middle of trying to combine or figure out whether to disband or combine a troop. And the unit with no active committee. So we got the list of who was quote under on the committee, and we went down name by name by name and said, are you willing to do this or continue? What is it that you actually do on the committee? What was expected of you? And we went through the whole list and we finally sorted it out and found a committee that was actually willing to work with the troop. I mean, before that, nobody knew anything that was going on. How about, we've talked a little bit, what about if you have a conflict with the chartered organization?
Lita, if I could just hone in on something there. You talked about building the committee, and one of the benefits or the outcome of having a committee is having first to have the unit leaders have a plan so that the committee can function. And it helps them in that regards is, when you say, okay, you're doing this. So, and then they ask, what do I do? Well, you can take your training and all that stuff, but giving them an opportunity to function is a key factor. Just coming in and acting as a committee is difficult unless you have the unit have a plan.
I mean, that is so true. Oh, we've only got 2 minutes to go. So one of the things, identify the concern, decide if it's a problem, go to your ADC, whether you need assistance. We did all of the above with merging these two troops together. We needed everybody's help to pile in and help us save this troop. Develop a servant. Do you know what SMART goals are? Anybody know SMART?
Yeah, specific, measurable, attainable, that makes you reach, and time bounded.
Right. Very important to do that with any kind of help. Put it into the plan and then evaluate. I've put in the links to the assessments and some of the other things, the JTEs, so that you can get to that. Okay, then we go to this. What was the problem solved? If not, what else do we need to do? If yet, what's next? What do we do if it gets solved? We celebrate, right? We cheer. And, then we move on to the next project or problem. And in order for you to get further training, we've got the monthly district meetings, Commission of College Science, which we're here, Wood Badge, national conferences like Philmont, Florida Sea Basin Summit, Commissioners Arrowhead Honor. Okay, I want to talk about these last few. What's the point of getting these awards? And I'm just going to answer the question because of time. The point is that each one of these awards leads you in your position as unit commissioner to do your job. And if you've been doing your job with your unit commissioner these awards come naturally and normally as a part of what you are doing. So that's the point of getting these awards. Everybody needs to know that you're still progressing in what you're doing. And so by doing these, you can, anyway, you know what I mean? Here's our local or our national commissioner page with all of our resources. And as a commissioner, you have made a personal commitment to scouting. It's a commitment of time, effort, and knowledge. It's a commitment of patience and understanding. It's a commitment to be a living example for unit leaders and to lend a helping hand to fellow scouters. Are they still letting me talk? Anyway, the point is you have to be committed. They used to said tenure. That means 10 years. So, you know, as unit commissioners, we seek for tenure. Because we can't just go away. We know lots of stuff. Anyway, so hopefully you've learned all of these things. I don't know if you have or not. This is like giving a drink with a fire hose. Any questions?